The weather pattern will start to become active again within the next week, and in this video we will be breaking down any systems we may need to watch as we get into February. First off, we will be looking at the GFS weather model here. We will be breaking down each day and what the weather models show for the continental United States. And so first we'll start out with tonight on Saturday and then go into Sunday as well. But as you can see, if we go to midday Sunday, as you can see up here into portions of the Great Lakes region, way up here, you have some snow moving into those areas with kind of a clipper system moving down here. And then if we look out to the west here, you have some troughing moving here into the northwestern U.S. You have some rain into some of these areas to the south, into California, Nevada, into basically the entire northwest, and some of these areas again could see snow, like into these areas here, into the extreme northwest, and areas farther to the south will probably just see snow, rain for the most part, and that is again for Sunday. And then if we progress this further, you kind of have some energy hanging around here into the north central U.S. And again, you still have some snow moving into portions of the northwestern U.S. and rain into northern California by Monday. And you even have some snow that kind of builds in here late Sunday night into early Monday morning into the northeast. And continuing this on here, still snow up here into the northeast by late Monday night, and you have some energy there finally moving out by then. And you basically just have this energy lingering around here, and you're basically getting kind of a transport of moisture up into these areas, and you'll have a little bit of a cold air supply, and that'll help with that, with the snow potential into these areas here in the northwest. And it'll again remain mostly rain farther to the south here, but in the higher elevations of California and into the Cascades, that'll probably be snow for the most part. And then if we continue this on still with the run as we get into midweek, you still have that energy hanging out here, and then we finally get that troughing there that moves in, and that energy sort of ejects, and you have some snow falling into the north central U.S. and then you also have a wintry mix showing up here into the kind of portions of the mid-Atlantic and northeast by late Wednesday night into early on Thursday. And you have your energy move on out here to the east, and then you just have this kind of light to moderate band of snow from Canada all the way into the Great Lakes region, portions of the Midwest, into the extreme northeast as well by that time period, late Wednesday night into early on Thursday. And then that will continue on to the east, and that low pressure moves on out into the Atlantic, and you still have a snow threat basically for the northeast as you get later into the week, and then you have that low pressure moving on out there to the east, and again to the west of that as we get into later this week, really the late portion of this week into Friday. Again, you have some more snow showing up here into the northwest U.S. here, and still continuing on the run here. Just some potential for snow is just going to be expected throughout this week into the northwest, and rain obviously again is expected into California, Nevada, into Utah as well. Just mostly because you'll have that colder kind of, I would say, trapped up here farther to the northwest instead of it being able to move down farther to the south because of some ridging in place. And then again, we could have maybe another potential system into the early portions of next week, maybe a winter storm for portions of the northeast and maybe mid-Atlantic, Ohio Valley possibly, but it's a little early to get into the specifics, but the potential is definitely there. If we compare runs prior to the 0Z run from tonight, you can see there's obviously a chance for a winter storm, I would say again late next weekend into early next week into these areas here. And if we look at the 18Z run, again it has that low pressure farther to the north in these areas next week on Sunday, so this is still going to change a lot, I would say, for sure. So again, this could shift farther south, but it could also shift farther to the north. But I would definitely continue to watch out for the system, for a potential system, I would say, again, late this coming weekend into early next week if you live into the Great Lakes, Midwest, maybe the Ohio Valley, and Northeast for sure. So now we're going to look more at the ensemble weather models here. And so we'll be looking at the EPS ensembles. And so you're probably wondering why we're having this pattern. And that's what I'm going to explain right here with our geopotential heights at the 500 millibar levels here. And we'll just again break down kind of what we could expect as we get into this coming weekend and beyond, further into February. So first off here, again, looking at the EPS ensembles, we're going to have ridging into most of the US as we get later into this weekend into Sunday as well. As you can see in that red color there, that is ridging, and the blue color, light blue to dark blue colors, are areas of troughing, where areas of lower pressure are. So again, if we continue on the run here, and you're going to have some ridging build into the US again as we get into early next weekend. That'll allow for that cold air to kind of shift further to the southwest, so that again keeps most of this really areas here farther to the south, mostly rain for this weekend into early next week, and that's why you see snow farther to these areas up here as well. And then going back here, you have again that ridging staying into the US with some kind of troughing up here into the northwest US and up into Canada as well. And that ridging stays into the central and eastern US for quite some time, even as we get into the middle portion of this coming week, the 5th and 6th of February. And then finally by kind of the later portion of this week into Thursday, Friday, and then finally into Saturday, you have that ridging slowly start to move off to the east a little bit, and troughing is kind of introduced further to the south and to the northwest, and kind of closer to the southwest, not in the southwest US, but closer to the southwest. And that'll allow for that cold air to funnel in a little bit better into these areas right here. And then still continuing on here, you're going to have above average, I did forget to mention this, but you are going to have above average temperatures into the eastern US for sure, and probably most of the central US, and we'll get into that in just a second with the actual map of the temperature anomalies. But still, we're going to remain on the geopotential height here for the EPS ensembles. And so by late next weekend into the 9th, 10th, and 11th, you finally have ridging mainly confined to the southeast US, and then you're going to potentially have troughing set up into the western US and portions of the central US. And so this will allow for cold air to basically funnel into these areas right here. And so I could definitely see below average temperatures being a possibility here with more of an active pattern because of this troughing setting up. So you'll have systems doing more of something like kind of like this right here. Let me get that out of the way so I can see better. You'll have kind of a path of something like that, where you'll have your jet stream basically, I would say kind of like this. Again, that's just kind of an average path there from what I've drew, but you'll have systems that'll basically be again anywhere in this area, maybe to the north of this, maybe to the south of this, but mainly into these areas here, or they'll ride up through the central US and head on out to the east, and still that could go all the way out there as well, go all the way out here as well. So it's just an early look from the EPS ensembles of what we could potentially expect as we get into kind of the middle portion of February. And I'll continue this on here, this run. And so that troughing looks like it kind of hangs down there and is at its peak again not the middle portion of this week, but the middle portion of next week, the 11th, 12th, and 13th of February. That's where it looks like it'll be its strongest, and that'll probably be where we will probably have, the most active track of storms, and maybe even more stronger storms, I would say, into these areas into the central U.S. But continuing on the run here, it's getting pretty far out on the run, and it just shows some ridging still staying into the southeast and eastern U.S. for the most part, but that is again getting far out, and we can't really predict it too well just because it is far out, and we'll just have to kind of wait and see for that period as we get into the middle of February, because it is again 2 weeks out basically at this point. But lastly, we'll look at temperature anomalies, and so again we'll have above average temperatures into much of the central and eastern US, and then by the early portion, basically by Monday and Tuesday of this week, the 3rd and 4th of February, you're finally going to have below average temperatures start to move into the northwestern US and north central US as well, and again above average temperatures expected into much of the central and eastern US for the most part, but definitely the eastern US. And so you'll have that cold air finally start to sag south, and by the 10th and 11th you have that cold air just extremely, not extremely, but close to extremely cold air moving down here into the western US and especially the north central US by that point as we get into the middle of February, and that cold air looks like it hangs around once it gets into these areas. So again, if you have that strengthened, not strengthened, but more active pattern, more active jet stream into these areas, to me that basically screams winter storms into the central US and Midwest US as well, just because of the cold air in place and all that moisture is getting transported farther to the south up into these areas. So that'll just be something to consider there, and really that's going to be about it for kind of the long range forecast. So that'll be it for tonight's update. I appreciate all y'all watching, and I appreciate all of y'all who have continued to tune into my forecast videos. I really do appreciate y'all. I'm going to try to have another video out maybe in the next couple of days, but if not, then I'll definitely have one out by later this coming week. But again, that'll be it for tonight's update. I appreciate all y'all, and I hope y'all have a great rest of y'all Saturday night and Sunday.